Hello and welcome to the complete crash course on Ruby programming. I'm Raghav and you can find all my work on my website automationstepbystep.com. In this video, we are going to learn everything from scratch and we will start with a hello world program in Ruby. I will show you how you can copy my project and then we will look at comments, variables. We will look at how to get user input from console, strings, operators, arrays and hashes in Ruby, and then we will move to conditional statements, ternary statement, case statement, for loop, while and do while loops. We will look at until and unless keywords, break and next, redo and retry keywords. We will see how to create methods and classes and objects in Ruby. So let's get started, and here I will go to repl.it. This is an online editor I'm going to use. You can go here and create a free account. I have created my free account, and here you can see I already have some repls. I already have this here, but I'm going to create a new repl or a new folder. I will click here. You can also go from here. I will click here and select the language. So today we are going to learn Ruby. I will select Ruby and I will name this as Ruby crash course and say create REPL. So this will create a REPL and we can start creating our Ruby programs here. So it is loading, and here once this is loaded you can go to the settings and can select the layout side by side or stacked. I will say side by side. Then the theme light or dark. I will go with the darker theme. You can select the font size. For my case it is large. Indentation and all the settings you can do from here, and then here you can write your code and can also create new files. See, the files are here. Then here you can go to version controlling, packages, databases, settings. We just want to go to the files here. Here I can write my code and here I can see the output. Here is also a shell. I will show you this later. So now I can start typing here. So let us start with our hello world program. So in Ruby I can say puts is to print anything on the console, and if I say hello world and if I run this, you can see the output here. It says hello world. Now I can also say P and say something here. So P is the short form for puts. It will be the same thing. You can see it prints this here. Now I can also say print hello again, and if I run it now, you can see it is printing hello again as well. However, after printing it did not move the cursor to the next line. So this is the difference between puts and print. Puts moves the cursor to the next line after printing, and print does not moves it. If you want, you can also create a new file here. If you want to have easy categorization, you can do like this. And now if I say something here, puts hello, if I now run this, you will see it is still running our main.ruby, and if you want to run this file you will have to load it here. I will say load and I will say hello.rb, and now if you go here and run, it will now run your file. So it is saying hello there. So you can do that, but for now let me just keep on this file. So this is a hello world program. Now you can also get all my Ruby project. So if you want this Ruby project, you can just go to this link, repl.it ruby crash course. So this is my link, and if you go to your browser and just hit this link, you will get my entire project, Ruby project from here. And you do not have to, even if you do not create an account on repl.it, you can still copy my entire project from here, and if you want you can do a forking. So here you can see all my project is here and you can get it from here. So let me just leave this and come back, and now let us go to comments. So how do you create comments? Now if I go here and if I have to comment everything, I will select everything and press Ctrl and / on my keyboard. If you are on Mac, press Command and / and it will comment out everything, and it will actually put a hash here. So for a single line comments, you put hash for a single line comment, and if you want a multi-line comment, So if I want to put everything inside comments, I can say equals begin and then equals end. So everything inside this block will be a comment. So this is how you can do commenting. Let us come to variables. So we can give any variable name. Let us say I say name equals, and I can give a value. So this is a variable, and then I can say puts or print name, and if I run this, you will see it is printing this here. And then I can have a numerical variable or a numerical value in a variable. I can say 1 2 3, or I can have a boolean value. I can say condition equals true, and then I can print everything. I can say puts, and I can also say like this name comma num comma condition, and if I now run this, it will print everything here. So this is how you can use all these variables and store values inside your variables. Now here, if you want to print something, I can say hello, and if you want to refer this variable name, you will have to say hash and in curly brackets give the variable name, and if I now run this, it will say hello Raghav. So you can do interpolation or refer variables like this in Ruby. How to get input from user console? So let us say, let me comment everything. I will press Ctrl and / on my keyboard, and now let us say I want to get something from the user. So in that case, I will say gets.chomp. This is the function we use, and before this I will say print enter your name, and then I will say gets.chomp, and this will get the user input from the console. And let me put this in a variable called name, and then I can print hello, and then I can say hash name. If I now run this on the console, it is saying enter your name. I will say Raghav, and I hit enter, it is saying hello Raghav. Now just in case you want to get an integer or want to convert this into an integer, if I say print enter your ID, in that case I will create a variable and again say gets.chomp, but in this case I will convert it to an integer. So I will say .to_i. This will convert to an integer, and then I can print hello name and say your ID is hash ID. And if I now run this, it says enter your name. I say my name is Raghav, and then it says enter your ID. I say 10. It says hello Raghav, your ID is 10. So this is how you can get a user input from console. Let us learn about strings. So here I will comment this Ctrl/, and now I can say I can give any variable name str1 and say this is a string. I can also use a single quotes instead of double quotes. This will also work fine. This is another string, and I can say puts str1 and puts str2, and if I now run this, it will run and say there is some issue. Let me check. Okay, so this is str2. I forgot here. Let me run it now again, and now it is saying this is a string and this is another string. So this is working fine. Now we have a lot of string operations in Ruby. How to create multi-line strings? So if I have to create a multi-line string, I can say str3 equals this. Inside double quotes I am saying this is a, and I will press enter, multi-line, again press enter, string. Now you see I have just pressed enter, and if I now say puts str3 and run this, let us see the output. So it is printing it as it is. So I just have to put the string in a different line, or what I can do is I can say str3 equals percentage and / and inside these forward slashes I can write my string. I can say this is my string, and if I want to print it, I will say puts let me say str4 here. We have already used str3 here. Now if I run this, you can see it is also printing my multi-line string like this. So I can do multi-line string. Interpolation is how do you refer variables in string, and this we have already seen here. So you just say hash and the variable name inside curly brackets to do interpolation or referring of variables. Let us see how can I get length and can do upcase downcase. I have a string, say str5, and I say it is hello. Now I can say puts str5 dot size, or I can say puts str5 dot length. If I run this, let us see the output. So it is printing the size or length of my string. I will comment this earlier part. And now if I have to do upcase or downcase, I can say puts str5 dot upcase or str5 dot downcase. If I run this, it will convert it to a uppercase or a lowercase, and you can see it has converted it like this. And then I can also say puts str5 dot reverse. If I want to reverse my string, I can use the dot reverse function, and you can see it has reversed. I can also reverse after doing upcase or downcase. I am saying dot upcase and then reverse. So I will say reverse, and if I now run this, it is converting it to an uppercase and then reversing my string. Then I can say include. So I can say str5 dot include, and if I give something, let us say hello, and if I run this, it will say true. That means this is a part of the string. If I use something else like with capital H hello and run this, now it is saying false. That means this is not part of this string. And then I can concatenate my string. So for example, I have multiple strings. I can say hello, and then I can just give a space and again give the next part, how are you? And if I run this, you will see it will concatenate and then print it on the console. So let me very quickly check this. I will clear my console and run it again, and you can see it is saying hello, how are you? The other way is I can also put a plus in between, and this will also work. If I run this now, it is still printing the same thing. Or I can say hello dot concat, and then I can give the next part. I can say how are you, and I will run this, and you will see it is now printing it as it is. So this is how you can concatenate strings. Then you can also freeze your strings. Let us say I will say str6 equals hi, and I will print this, and then I will modify this string. I will say str6 equals str6, and then I will append something hi again, and then I will print it again str6. Let us see the output. I will just comment all this, control / or command / on my keyboard, and yes, I am here. Now I will run this and let us see what happens. So it has modified the string hi again, and now if I say str6 dot freeze, so I have freezed my string, and if I now try to modify it again, let us see what happens. Now if I run this, it says there is an exception. You cannot modify a frozen string. So if you want that nobody should be able to modify your string, you can use this dot freeze operation. And then if you want to compare two strings, you can use double equals to. For example, I have this string, I can say equals ABC, and if I run this, it will print true. Let me comment out this one and then run again, and you will see here true. If I say, I can also say ABC dot equal, and then I can say something, and if I run this, now it will say false. So these are two ways how you can compare your string. So all this we have learned. You can also use this length and you can get something out of your string using all these operations. Let me just copy this from here and paste it here. Suppose we have a string called message, and then you can just say puts message hello, and if it is a part of the string it will print it. So here it is printing it. Then you can use these index positions to print some particular part of your string. So if I say message 0, it is printing H. If I say message 0 to 4, it is printing HELL, that is the first 4 characters. I can use a range. Here I am saying 0 to 20 inside square brackets, and it is printing the 0 to 20 characters. I can say 0 until the length of the string, so it is now printing the entire string. I can go from reverse, that is from the backside of the string, using minus. So if I say -4, it is printing the 4th character from the back, which is S here, this one. And then I can also print the length as we have seen earlier. So these are string operations. Let us move to operators, and I will comment everything. Now let us move to operators. Now in Ruby we have all these mathematical operators, and then we also have these comparison operators. So there are multiple operators. Let me very quickly copy this code to save some time, and I will just copy it here. So you can do plus using plus operator, minus, subtraction using minus operator, multiplication using the star, and then this is divide, and this is modulus. So this will give you the result as the remainder of this division. So when you use percentage, it will show you remainder of the division, and this is exponential. So if you use this double star, this is 2 raised to the power 3. And then this is comparison. If 2 is equals to 3, this will check not equals, this will check greater than, less than, greater than equal to, and less than equal to. Let me run everything and check, and you can see it is now printing all this. So you can get this code and try it out. Let us now move to ternary operator. So here let us say I say A equals 10, B equals 20, and then if I say C equals, I can say give a condition A is greater than B, and then I give a question mark, and then I say A and colon B. So what does this mean is, in ternary operator we give a expression or a condition here and then a question mark. If this condition is true, this will be the output, or this will get stored in C. If the condition is false, after colon whatever the expression we have will get executed. So condition, if true, this will get executed, if false, this will get executed. And then finally I will say puts greater number is, and I will say C. So let us see. I will run this and check, and it says greater number is 20. So this is how you can use a ternary operator. Let us move to arrays, and before I do that, I will have to comment everything. And now let us move to arrays. Now in Ruby you can create an array. I can say give any variable name like array1 equals, and I can give these square brackets. So this will create an empty array, or I can also say array2 equals array dot new. Both of these ways creates arrays, and in this case it has created an empty array. If I try to check the length or size of these arrays, I will say array1 dot size, and I can say puts array2 dot size or length. This will be the same. I run this, and you can see it is printing 0 0. So that means they are of 0 size or empty. I can just give a size here. So if I say bracket 10, and now if I run this, you can see that second array is of size 10, and for the first array, if I want, I can directly give the values here. So now if I run this, you will see first array is of size 5 and the second array is of size 10. So this is how you can create arrays. Now we have all these functions. I can get something, access element at a particular index using .at function. So I can say puts array1 dot, and I can say at, and then I can say in the square brackets I can say what index I want, let us say 2, and if I run this, you can see here there is some issue. Let me very quickly check, and I have to use a circular bracket and not a square bracket. I will run this, sorry for that, and let me check again, and it is saying empty because there is nothing at this position. I will say 2, and if I run this, you can see it will print 3. That means at index position 3, at index position 2 we have 3 because the index position starts from 0. So this is index position 0, this is 1, and this is 2. And then I can use fetch. Now if you say this, you can see the difference here. I will say puts array 1 dot fetch, and I will again say give some position here. Now you can see the difference. When I say at 10, it gave me empty and did not give me any error, but when I say fetch at 10th index, it will give me a error, that is index 10 outside the array bounds. So if you want to get this error, then you can use fetch. Let me very quickly comment this out, and then I can use first and last. I can say puts array 1 dot first puts array 1 dot last. It will print the first and last element of the array, and you can see 1 and 5 here. Then I can say take n, and it returns the first n elements of the array. For example, if I say puts array 1 dot take, and I say 2 here and run, you will see it is printing the first n elements, that is the first 2 elements from this array. Then I can say push to add the items to the end. Let me very quickly just use all this to save some time, and I will have to remove this, and I will say array 1 dot push, and I will say 6 array 1, and I will say 7 array 1 dot, let us say 0 array 1 dot at this position insert 4. So what does all this mean? When I say push, it will add item to the end of the array. When I use this symbol to append, it will again add to the end. And if you want to add at the beginning or the start, you can say unshift. And when you want to add any object or element at a particular location, you can use insert and give the index position and then the object. So now after all this, when I say puts array 1, you will see the difference. So I say this, and now if I run, let us see, I will have to stop and clear my console and run again and check. Yes, there was some error. I can go back to my earlier project and go to arrays. So this is what I have here. Just to make sure, if I'm making any mistake, I will check this. So let me try to print this and check puts or print, and the same thing I will print for here and here and here. So I will run it again and check, and yes, this time looks like this is running, but it is all printing in the same line. So I will add a puts in between so it changes to the next line, and then I can check the errors and exceptions. So let me do this and clear the console and run it. So here this is all fine. You can see it has added 6 here, then it has added 7, then it added 0, which is what we did here, unshift and 0. I will try to delete this puts. I will clean and say I do not actually want this. Let me just say puts and run, and let us see, and yes, this is all working fine. So we have done all these operations, and then we can say drop. Now drop will return elements after n elements have been dropped. So if I say print array 1 dot drop, and I will say 2, and if I run it now, so you can see it has dropped the first 2 elements, and then it is now printing our array. Then we can say pop will remove it from the end, the element from the end. Shift will remove the element from the start. delete a particular element will remove the specific item. For example, if I say here, I say array1 dot delete, and I will say delete 3, and now if I run this, it has removed 3, and now if you print your array, there will be no 3 there. So let me say print array1 and run this. I should be using print here, and puts will just move it to the next line. I will run this again and check, and now you can see 3 is removed from the array. Then we can use unique. It will remove any duplicate items in your array. If you see my array now, if I run this and check my array, you can see 4 is here multiple times. So I will say array1 dot unique and run it, and now you can see 4 is removed, and now we only have all the unique values in our array. So this is all about array. Now let's go to hashes. Now arrays store information or values with a numerical index, and we have seen that we can use the numerical index to access our arrays. Now hashes store information using key value pair, and you can create a hash like this. So for example, let me just comment all this, and now I can say hash1 equals, I can give a curly bracket, and this is a empty hash, and now if I want, I can add the key and value. I can say name, and I can say equals and this arrow, and then I can say give a value, and then I can also say here I can give a comma and add more values. I can say subject, and I can say here automation, and then I can again give a comma, and in the next line I will say topic, and then I can give here the topic name. So this is a hash. I can say puts hash1 dot size, and if I now run this, you can see it is saying 3. Now the other way of creating a hash is I can copy this, and I will say hash2. You can give any name, and now here instead of this I can use a colon. So this is also a valid way of creating hashes, and I can also print its size. I can say hash2 size, and if I run this, this is printing 3 again. Now if I have to access anything in my hashes, I can just use the square brackets and use the key. For example, I can say puts hash1, and here I will say name, and if I run this, it is getting Raghav here. Or I can say puts hash2, and if I say topic, and if I now run this, now here it is not printing anything, so I will use a colon here. I think outside, let me check like this and run this, and now I'm getting Ruby here. So this is how you can use and access hashes, and you can also use a loop to get all the values from your hash maps or hashes. So let us say I will say hash1 dot each, and I say do, and in this pipe symbols I say key value, and then I say puts inside the loop, and then I say hash key and hash value. So it will get the key and value out of the hash. Let me copy this again here and say hash1, and now if I run this, and now it is running and printing the keys and the values. So this was about hashes. Let us go to if else conditions in Ruby, and in Ruby you can create if else conditions, and this is the syntax: if the condition and the code and then end. So let us create a if else condition. I will comment this, and now I will say if 2 is greater than 1, then I want to print 2 is greater, and then I will say end. If I now run this, it is saying 2 is greater. Or if I say, I will say age equals 18, and in the if condition I say if age is greater than 18, then print you are eligible to drive. Now if I run this, because this condition now will not be true, let us see the output. I will clear everything, stop, clear and run again. You can now see it is not printing anything because this condition becomes false and it comes out of the if statement. So to have something after it becomes false, I can say else, and I can say puts you are not eligible to drive. And now if I run this, here you will see it is printing you are not eligible to drive. Now you can also say have a multiple else if. So I can say ELS if, and then I can say else if age is less than or equal to 18, then print this, and finally I say else print enter a valid input. So now if I say age is 20 and run, it will say you are eligible to drive. If it's less than 18, it will say you are not eligible to drive, and then if you have any invalid input, it will go to the else block. So this is if else and if statements. Ternary we have already seen, it is a kind of a short form of if else where we give an expression and then question mark. If this expression is true, this is executed. If it is false, this is executed. We have already seen this. Let us go to case. Let us say I have an array called days, and I can have values like, or I can have values like 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 7, and then I say case, and I will say when 1, then I will have to say case day, so it switches to day, and then I say when 1, I will say puts today is Monday, and then I say when 2, then say today is Tuesday, and so on. And if it does not match anything, then I can say else puts enter valid input. So I can also get this from a user. I can say print enter day number, and then I will get it into a variable called day using gets.chomp.to integer, and let us see what happens now. I will say run, and it says okay, the issue was this was my mistake. I also have to end this. I did not end it. Now I will run this, and now it says enter number. I say 1, and today is Monday. I run it again. I say 2, it says today is Tuesday, and if I give something else, let us say 10 here, it says enter a valid input. So this is how you can use case statements, and here in other programming languages it is kind of switch case where switch comes instead of case, and then instead of when we have cases. So this is the syntax in Ruby. Let us go and see for loop. Now I will comment this. In Ruby I can say for I in I to 1 to 10, this is a range, and then I will say puts I and say end, and if I run this, it will print 1 to 10. I can also use a array. I can say for I in this array 1 2 3 4 5, and I will say puts I and say end, and this is the same thing. If I run this, it will print all this elements of the array. So this is how you can use for loop. Then coming to while and do while loop. So while loop executes while a condition is true. So I can say while condition and then do and then end. So I can say here, let us say while I say x equals 1, and I will say while x is less than 10 do, I will say print x, and I will also make x increment by 1. I can say x equals x plus 1, or I can also say x plus equals 1, which is the same thing, and then I will end the while loop. I will clear and run, and you can see it is printing 1 to 9. This is because we set less than 10. If I say less than equals to 10 and run again, this will now print from 1 to 10. Now in a do while loop, it is similar to while loop, but the only difference is that it will execute at least once. So let us see this code. This is how we use a do while loop, and I will comment this. So we say loop do, and this is our code. I am saying enter a number greater than 10, and I am getting a input from user. And if I say if number is greater than 10, then I am saying break, that is coming out of the loop. So if I run this, it says enter number greater than 10. If I say 6, which is less than 10, it is still going in the loop until I give a number which is greater than 10. It will not come out. Now I say 20, and now it will come out of the loop. So this is how you can use a do while loop in Ruby. Now going to until and unless conditions. So until will execute until the given condition evaluates to true, and let me show you this code here. Here I say I equals 1, and I say until I equals 10, it will keep on printing I, and I am also incrementing I with 1 here. If I run this, you will see until the condition is true, it will keep on running the loop, and then unless executes the code until or unless the condition is false. So if the condition is true, code specified in the else clause is executed. So let me show you unless as well here. I am saying x equals 3 and saying unless x is less than 5, put x is greater or equals to 5, else put this. So if this condition is false, only then it will execute this. If I run this, you can see it says x is less than 5, which is printing this because this condition is true. So you can use unless like this. Then we have break and next. We use break and next in loops. Break is used to come out of the loop, and next is used to skip that particular iteration of the loop. Let me show you an example. If I say x equals 1 and I say while x is less than equals 10, and here I am adding a condition, if x becomes equals to 5, then break out of the loop. And if I run this and check, you will see it is going until 4, and as soon as x becomes 5, it is coming out of the loop. However, if I want to skip a particular iteration of a loop, I can use next. So if I use this, I will comment this, and if I say I am using a for loop, I am saying for I in 1 to 10, and as I becomes 5, I am saying next. So it will skip this. I will run and check. You can see it is printing 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is not getting printed because this is skipping that iteration and going to the rest of the loop. So this is how and when you can use break and next. Let us see redo and retry. Redo is to repeat the current iteration of the loop. Let us see an example. I will say x equals 1, and while x is less than 5, I am printing x and also incrementing x to 1, and then I am saying redo if x equals 5. That means when this condition becomes true, the current iteration of the loop will get executed. Let us see if I don't do this, what happens. I will not use this or comment this out and run my code. You can see here it is printing 1 to 4, it is not printing 5 because we are saying x less than 5. If I run with the redo, I say redo if x equals 5. Now you will see here it is also printing 5 because as this condition becomes true, it is re-executing that particular iteration of the loop. And then retry is to repeat the whole loop iteration from start, and retry statement only works inside begin and rescue block. Let me show you. I will copy this and paste it here. I am saying for I in 1 to 10 and using a begin. I am raising a exception if I becomes 10, and in the rescue section I am saying retry. So what this will do is when I becomes 10, it will retry the iteration and it will keep on doing this. So it will be kind of an infinite loop. If I try to run this, you will see it will be a infinite, and I will have to stop it manually. So you can see it will keep on running until I stop it. So this is redo and retry. Let us now go to methods in Ruby. So we use methods or functions so that we have a modular code and it is a block of code that returns a value, or you may also have a method without returning any value, and we use methods so that we can run the same code again and again and we have reusability. And in Ruby we use the keyword def. So we say def and give a method name, and then I can put any code, let us say hello from method, and then I say end. And if I run this now, nothing happens because we are actually not calling this method. To execute a method we have to call this method. So I will say hello, and now if I run, you will see it is saying hello from method. It is a good practice to give brackets here. It can be empty arguments, but this is how we create a method. So it is printing hello from method. Now I can also give some arguments or parameters. Let us say user, and then I will say I will refer this variable user here. And now if I run this, you will see there is a exception because now this method is accepting one argument and we are not providing any argument while we are calling the method. So I have to provide an argument or a value or a parameter here. I say Raghav, and if I now run this, it is saying hello Raghav here. I can have multiple parameters as well. I can say user and ID, and here I will say your ID is, and I will say hash and ID. I will provide two parameters and I will say run, and you will see here it says hello Raghav, your ID is 10. So this is how you can create methods in Ruby. And now I can call this with multiple parameters. So this is now reusable. I can say John and say 20, and if I now run this, hello Raghav, your ID is 10, and hello John, your ID is 20. So now this is reusable code. Let us see classes and objects in Ruby. If you have to create a class in Ruby, you just have to use a keyword called class, and then you can give it any name. Let us say I say car. You have to say end to end the class. Inside the class you can have any variables or methods. Let us say I have a method, I say get name, and then inside this I will say puts car name is. Now here let us say I have to call this method, so I will have to create an object of the class, and to create an object of the class you can give any variable like car1. This will be the instance of this object or the instance of the class, and we are calling referring this instance or object with this variable car1, and then I say car dot new. So this is now created an object of the car and we are calling it car1, and with this I can access the variables and methods. Now I can access car1 dot get name, and now if I now run this, you will see there is a issue. Now I should not be using the curly brackets here, that was a mistake. And now if I use this object or object reference car1, I can access the methods of this class. I can say get name, and if I now run this, it says car name is star star star. This is what we are printing here. Now I can create some variables in the class. I can say at name. This is an instance variable that we create using the at symbol, and a class variable we can create by double at symbol. So now I can say this at name. Now if I say hash and inside curly brackets I refer this, and if I run this now, you can see it is saying car name is empty because we have not yet set this variable. So I can use another function. I can say set name, and inside this I will get a argument called name or car name. Inside this function at name equals to whatever I am getting here, and before I call this I will call set name function, and here I can give the name, let us say Toyota. And now if I run this, you can see it is saying car name is Toyota. So this is how you can set the variables like this, and now this variable can be used anywhere. Now sometimes we want to force a user to give some arguments whenever creating a object of a class. In that case I can use a function called initialize. Now initialize is kind of a constructor, if you know about Java or other languages, where we force a user to give some arguments whenever creating a objects. So let us say I have name, I have model, and I have top speed, and then in the initialize function I take name, model and top speed, and then inside the function I say all these variables, I say this equals to name, this will get equal to whatever model we provide here, and this will store the top speed that we provide here. And now if you see, I can just remove this set name, and if I now try to run my program, you will see there is a exception, because now it says this initialize needs 3 arguments and we have not given any arguments, so we need to give the arguments as soon as we create the object of the class, that is here. So here I have to give the object, I will say here I have to give the arguments, I will say Mercedes, and let us say 2020, and let us say top speed 100. And now if I run this, you will see it is now, so there is some error. Let me very quickly check. It says undefined local variable. Yeah, there is some issue. This should be top speed, so there was a typo. I will now clear and run again, and now you can see it says car name is Mercedes, and similarly you can access model and top speed. Now also if you go to shell, you can just say Ruby and give the name of your Ruby file and run this from here. It will still run your Ruby program from here as well. So you can also use shell from here, and then you can get all my course, all my Ruby course with this URL. If you go to your browser and just open this URL, I will also have this in the description of this video, so you can get from description. And then if you need any more help, you can always go to my website, that is automationsstepbystep.com, and you will find all these courses here under the programming section. I hope this was very useful for you, and if you have any issues, let me know. Never stop learning, and I will see you soon. Thank you for watching.